Welcome to the January 27th, 2025 meeting of the Sandusky City Commission. We'll have an invocation offered by myself, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, we seek your wisdom and guidance. Protect us from self-interest and narrow agendas. Teach us humility and make us hungry for your will. Be with us in our discussions and guide our decisions so we always do what is right and what is just for our residents. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Myers, you call the roll.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Here.
Ms. Fargo? Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Jolly?
Here.
Mr. Coons?
Here.
Move to excuse Commissioner Vargo.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, Ms. Fargo is excused. Commissioners, you have before you the minutes of our meeting of January the 13th.
Mr. Chairman.
That would not be correct. Was it January 13th? It was January 13th, 2020. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of the January 13th meeting as presented.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, those minutes are approved.
Presentation.
Let's go, folks, to the next order of business is
Presentation
presentation. We have a presentation tonight, don't we?
there. Rumpke.
Yes. That would be Rumpke, and we have a gentleman from Rumpke Refuse. Mr. Whirling, are you going to do the
Just going to introduce.
introduction?
Yes. To the commission. As mentioned at the last meeting, when we had going with Rumpke as our trash and recycling hauler, that Blake Austin, right here, was going to do a presentation to kind of give you a history about Rumpke and then also the services that they will be providing later this year. Blake? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Blake Austin. I'm the Municipal and Public Sector Specialist for Rumpke Waste and Recycling. And with the resolutions that were passed at the last meeting, we figured it'd be a good idea for me to stop by, introduce myself, tell you a bit about Rumpke, who we are, what we do, and how we can help your community. First, a quick bit of history for Rumpke. We were founded by a couple brothers down in Cincinnati in 1932. They were actually pig farmers. They ran a trash route to feed the pigs. Sometime in the early 1950s, the FDA stepped in, started having rules on things, so they sold the pig farm, started a full-blown trash company. We're a third-generation family-owned business. We started formally recycling in 1989 down in Cincinnati. Right now, we recycle about 1 billion pounds of material annually, and we proudly service 450 communities in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, and parts of West Virginia. Back in December, we finalized the purchase of Cyclone Services out of Vickery, Ohio. That included all trucks and equipment along with their hauling site in White's Landing. At the time of the purchase, Cyclone had 67 employees. 63 of those now work for Rumpke, including both of the owners. Our new to Rumpke team is picked up right where Cyclone left off. If you or any of the residents in your community have Cyclone as their had Cyclone as their trash service provider, they shouldn't have seen any changes. It's the same driver driving the same truck on the same day, running the same route. Hopefully, it has been a seamless transition, and the only real difference is that the sticker on the side of the truck is red instead of yellow now. While the Rumpke family takes pride in what they do on the trash side of the business, they really hang their hat on the recycling side of what we can offer. Your service now you have at the recycling center, we run a single stream recycling program, meaning you just toss all recyclables into the same container. We come by, we pick it up, we take it to our facility where we sort it, separate it, and bale it. That facility is called a material recovery facility, abbreviated to MRF for short. So if later you hear me say MRF, that's what I'm talking about. Our recycling program accepts everything currently accepted at the recycling center, plus a few items. The big item that we accept that's now currently unavailable at your recycling center is glass bottles and jars. We take them, we want them, we can find a home for them. We just ask if it's a jam jar or something like that, you give it a quick once over in the sink. You don't have to throw it in the dishwasher. You don't have to get in there and scrub it. Just a little bit of water just so that we get a little bit of the residue out of it. We're able to accept in our glass, or we're able to accept glass in our commingled recycling due to the fact that Rumpke owns its own glass separation facility in Dayton. So to give you a brief summary of what happens, we take your glass from the recycling center, we run it to a transfer station in Mansfield. Once it's in Mansfield, all recycling is taken down to our material recovery facility in Columbus where it is sorted and separated. We take that glass, send it to our glass recycling facility in Dayton where it is cleaned and separated by color, and then we send it to their end users who make either glass or new glass bottles or fiberglass insulation out of it. We're the only waste hauler east of the Mississippi River to have their own dedicated glass recycling facility. It's something the Rumpke family takes great pride in, and it's one of those things, in a time where it seems like more haulers are trying to get away from glass, we welcome it into our recycling stream. Another thing that's also I don't believe is found in your current recycling list is tubs and cups, so things commonly found in the dairy aisle along with single-use cups. You may have noticed in recent years that like fast food restaurants, they've gone away from the styrofoam cups to like the clear plastic cups. Part of that is that those cups are recyclable. We want to be able to find it. We have end users that want them, so we ask that you put those in the recycling. We'll take them, we'll send it to the user and get it out of the landfill. And the last thing, we added this back in November, is the clear clamshell plastics that like salads and other fruits and strawberries, things of that nature you may find in the grocery store. We found an end user in November to accept those items, so we started shipping those out November 1st. When I started telling people about this, the most common response was I was already putting that in the recycling to begin with, so we now accept them. And then just a brief overview of every item we accept in our waste stream, so it should be everything that you already could drop off at the recycling center plus the items I mentioned. Where does it go? I briefly mentioned from Mansfield down to Columbus, but what do we do once we get it? 87 to 90% of inbound material through the Columbus MRF is recycled, and that just means that's about 10% of what is included in the recycling stream is actually waste, and we just can't do anything with it, whether it's wish cycling or contaminated loads, we just can't find a home for it. 99% of that material stays in the U.S. Of that 99%, 85 to 95% of it stays in the Midwest. The one lone exception is aluminum cans. There just isn't a smelter closer than Alabama, so that's where we send it. We have contracts with multiple long-term stable end users, just to make sure we can always meet the demand of a recycling material. So if we have something comes up at like a paper mill or something, we don't have to say, no, we can't take this for the time being. We have several other companies we can work with to find a home for that material. That's just kind of a visual of the circle we're dealing with. Most end users exist within like a 250-mile radius and are less than a day's drive away for a Rumpke trailer to get to. And then, like I said, most end users are in the Midwest, and that's a list of the end users in this part of the state. I believe, talking to our recycling team this morning, the closest one I could find to Sandusky is Evergreen Plastics in Clyde, Ohio. They take PET, which is clear plastic bottles. They turn it into strapping for packaging and things of that nature. That's, I believe at this time, the closest end user that we have. So we try to integrate it back into the community where we got it from. The closest we can get with Sandusky for the time being is Clyde, Ohio. Thing we're really excited about is last summer we opened a new $100 million plus facility down in Columbus. It includes a 200,000 square foot MRF, material recovery facility. It includes the largest tipping floor in North America. Our previous facility could handle about 150,000 tons annually. This facility we're looking to be able to push up towards 250,000. So there is a lot of room for growth, and that's kind of part of what led to us purchasing Cyclone and honestly why I'm here today. You guys have some recycling, we're looking to get our hands on it. That's just some more information about the specs of it. 30,000 square foot tipping floor, 4,000 square feet dedicated to research and development, same amount is dedicated to career development and education. We have an elevated a platform, so if you ever have a school or university, you guys want to come down and tour it, we can accommodate that, make a day of it. It's really cool. I highly recommend seeing it in person if you're able to. That is just an overhead picture of it, what it looked like right during construction towards the tail end of it. That is one of the last pictures taken before we started running material through it. And that is, again, another last minute picture of, kind of gives the depth of the amount of conveyor belts and optical sorters and scanners that we're dealing with. We'd love to have you guys down for a tour. I know it's quite the haul down to Columbus, but I promise you make that drive, I'll make it worth your time. It's, if you ever have anybody that doubts recycling or has questions about it, please send them our way. We'd love to show them this cool new toy we have. Thank you guys for your time. If you have any questions, I'm all ears.
Questions or comments, Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner White?
when I grabbed you in the bathroom over the men's bathroom, I'm glad the price is staying the same when I asked you about the 29. It's just joking, but that's good. The pricing of it is the same. Maybe mention that.
Yeah, so right now, for the time being, we're holding all rates from the Cyclone acquisition. Will they go up at some point? I honestly don't know. That's ways down the road right now. We're just trying to make sure that we get everybody picked up on the certain schedule, make sure we're maintaining weekly service. If there is any rate adjustments down the road, I imagine there'll be communication sent out to the customer beforehand.
And I got one follow-up. How many did you retain from Cyclone or whoever switched over? Is it like 80%, 90% of the customers? Or?
We're still working on it, actually. We have some customers. We sent out a letter letting everybody know that there will be this change taking place, and then some left, and then I think they're giving it 2 or 3 months before they finalize that number, so I'm not sure what the current number is right now. But it does seem like the reception we've gotten is more positive, negative, especially once we reassure them that it's the same driver with the same truck. It does seem to ease people's concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Austin, it appears that folks have to get the recycling material to you. What are the plans for do you have plans for curbside recycling?
Down the road, yeah. I don't have like a implementation plan that I can roll out to you right now, but it is something we were working on. That was part of the acquisition, was how do we provide curbside recycling to residents in this part of the state. And we don't have a finalized plan yet, but it is something we are actively working on.
Thank you.
Mr.
Additional
Chairman?
comments or questions? Mr. Crable?
Where is the MRF in Columbus area?
It's on Joyce Avenue. It is right off of Fifth Avenue. The best way to explain it is are you familiar with where the fairgrounds are in Columbus? If you go one exit south of that and then head east on Fifth Avenue, it's like 1.5 miles down the road. You turn left and then you go over a bridge and you can't miss it at that point.
I spend a fair amount of time in Columbus, so I just might stop.
Yeah, if I meant to include my contact information on the last slide. I will make sure all of you have that information. If you're ever in town and you just want to, either it's a full-fledged tour or you just want to like a quick 15, 20 minutes, see what I'm talking about, please reach out. I'd love to show you guys what we got.
Mr. Murray?
Thank you, Mr. Austin. I'm going to use you as something of an opportunity to raise a subject that's near and dear to my heart, but I'm going to tell you first 2 things. One, we do have an ordinance in the city of Sandusky. You are required to offer curbside recycling. If you're doing business here, you have to offer that. So I just want to encourage you to get compliant with that as soon as you can. Second, we do have days on which you are permitted in the city of Sandusky. We have zones, and so you are required to pick up on those days, in those zones, and not on other days. It was violated more often than not by your predecessor or the company you acquired. Great folks, but that was an issue. And I want to tell you, I did have an entire piece of litigation that revolved around a MRF. And it's really cool, and the pictures are really impressive, and what you guys are doing is really impressive, so thank you for that. But the issue I'm going to take the opportunity to raise with you is almost no community our size fails to have a single hauler system. Mm-hmm. We are one of the last communities over 25,000, if not the last in Ohio, that does not have a single hauler. I want to raise this opportunity. I've tried for years to get a consensus on this subject. I can't. at this table. Haven't been able to do it. I've been an outlier. Okay, that's fine. But it's something I would commend to the Blue Ribbon Commission for consideration. We leave, as a community, $1 million or more on the table every year. We have a tax on our citizens of $1 million because we do not have a single hauler system. We are down now to we've got Rumpke, we've got Republic still, and there's an outfit, Lake Erie Waste, I think. That's it. That's all that's left. And if we were to get serious about cutting that cost, we could save our residents $1 million a year. I commend it to everyone's consideration. The opportunity will present itself at the right time, and I'll get off my soapbox. So thank you for being a prop.
Of course.
Additional comments or questions? Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Excellent presentation. Good luck.
Thank you.
And you're not required to stay for the remainder of the meeting. Any residents with comments regarding agenda items tonight, please step to the podium and share with us your name and address and your agenda item comments. There's not a mad dash to the podium. I'll presume there's no agenda item comments. Commissioners, you have before you several communication from staff recommending various pieces of legislation. Can I have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion's approved. Tonight, we have 6 items on the consent agenda. Do any of you wish to move any of those consent items to the regular agenda? Ms. Myers, you present the consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. President. Item A, approval of electric aggregation agreement with Dynegy. Item B, approval of funding source adjustment for Sandusky Recreation Center. Item C, approval of acquisition of easements from Cedar Point Park for the landing. Item D, approval of CDBG street rehab and Farwell Parks basketball courts resurfacing, change order 1 and final with Erie Blacktop. Item E, approval of Sandusky Police Department annual Lexipol renewal. Item F, approval of amended programmatic agreement with Ohio State Historic Preservation Office.
Commissioners, having heard these ordinances, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Murray.
I move for the adoption of these ordinances pursuant to the section indicated in the communication.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. I'll point out that item F is a second reading, would not have required a motion, but we lump them all together. Ms. Myers, will you call the roll on the motion, please?
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinances.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Those ordinances are passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 1 of the regular agenda.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a 5th amendment to the sewer services agreement with Erie County and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Jolly.
I would move to adopt this ordinance in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second. Been
Been a motion and a second discussion. Mr. Orzak, can you tell us what we're doing with this piece of legislation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this amendment to our sewer agreement is to allow the Bayview sewer component of our agreement to raise that number from 0.400 million gallons a day to 0.6. This was a request from a developer, and through the county's administrator, Hank Soloway, along with Commissioner Old. The reason for that is there's a development that's going to be taking place out in that area. The county was close to or exceeding the previous number. I thank Director Klein. He analyzed what the developer had proposed as what they would need to make this happen. And we worked with the county, John Rufo, and made sure that the numbers would work. And so we're just requesting that the commission approve the amendment to allow for that development and that sewer agreement to change those numbers, and they can get on with their project.
Comments or questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Spring.
I applaud the work that the engineering department did to make this work where we can accommodate the county with modifications to the water and sewer contracts that make sense for our residents and make sense for the county. We want to engage in those cooperative efforts.
And I'd add that this piece is a very small step in providing more housing, not necessarily in the city of Sandusky, but certainly in an adjoining communities, as we all know at this table, sorely needed housing. So the longest journey, I guess, starts with the smallest step, and maybe this is the smallest step. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 2.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase a Brinex Advantage brine maker from Henderson Products Incorporated of Manchester, Iowa, through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Streets and Traffic Division, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Breen.
I really appreciate Mr. Klein's attention to this issue, and the communication discusses this, that, we are seeing increased salinity levels in Lake Erie and the tributaries, and it's important that we make our own effort, take our own part in reducing that level of salinity. You and I have discussed that before, so I was pleased to see this. I wonder if you might take just a moment to explain how pretreatment reduces the overall brine runoff, because I think for some people that might be a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, so I'll start with the salt application. When the salt spreader on the back of the truck actually throws the salt around, a lot of it will fly off into the ditches, into the storm drains, and it just washes out. And not only do we waste money, do we waste that material, but it also obviously salinates the water. You get more salt in it, and it just causes problems in Lake Erie if that's happening all over the place. What the brine does is you put it down before it snows, it sticks to the road, and it stops the ice from coming. So it slows the ice from coming. So it allows you to use less salt when you're actually doing the plowing, which then also in turn reduces the amount of salt we're using and the amount of salt going into the water and those things. Plus, it also stops the freezing from happening, so it keeps the roads safer longer so our crews can get in and respond to the snow events. So we started doing this about 8 or 9 years ago, and it was something that when we started it, we weren't sure how it was going to work, but it's proven to work very well. So now we're going to expand that program and be able to do this more frequently throughout the city. And it'll save money and help the environment as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Additional comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jolly?
do you still use the beet juice for the brine?
No, we do not use beet juice. That's something that we've researched probably 4 or 5 times since I've been here. There's many reasons that we don't use it. Cost is a big one, availability is another big one, and then just the fact that it turns everything red that it sprays, which would be vehicles parked on streets and things like that. So
I thought the city, before you came, I thought there was a time the city used beet juice. That's why I asked.
it may have. I'm not aware of that.
And my other question is, do we currently have a brine maker?
Yes, we do right now. It's at the service complex. It's smaller than the unit that we're going to be buying, and this unit is a lot better and a lot bigger, so it's going to help us go a lot farther with the material.
What do you do with the old brine makers, or any market to recycle that, or do you just?
Knowing, I have not gotten into the details of that, but I'm almost positive that knowing Scott and the people out there, that they're going to make sure that they keep it on hand in case something happens to this one. They can quickly put the old one back into service.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
Mr. Murray brought up a good point about Sandusky, but I'm wondering with our Blue Ribbon Committee, Mr. Crable, possibly extend this out county-wide because we do treat water, that comes back in. And we might be doing a better protection, but what about county-wide? Coming.
Good
What
suggestion.
are they doing? What's their stuff that's coming back to our plant?
Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 3.
It is requested a resolution be passed declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with the proposed West Monroe Street resurfacing project, PID 119649, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this resolution, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Coons.
move for adoption of this resolution under item 3, under suspension of the rules and in accordance with Section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the resolution.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Mrs. Myers, you present item number 4, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed repealing ordinance number 22-106 passed on May 23, 2022, and authorizing and directing the city manager to establish terms and conditions for the presentation of Ohio Bike Week by Advantage Entertainment, LLC, from 2 p.m. on June 4th, 2025 to 11 p.m. on June 8th, 2025, and from year to year through the year 2028 for the event area, and further authorizing the city manager to take such actions as deemed necessary and proper to implement the presentation of Ohio Bike Week in the city, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Coons.
move for adoption of this ordinance under item 4, under suspension of the rules and in accordance with Section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Orzak, would you be able to explain this, or would that be Mr. Worley?
Yeah, I'll take care of it. So Ohio Bike Week's going to have their 25th year this year in the city. They went through the COVID situation, and we redid the ordinance that we're referencing here. They were scheduled to pay us $25,000 per year for the contract. I met with those folks, and they've considerably shrunk down the event space and the amount of the downtown area that they're using. We've had a reduction by Chief Oliver in the police services, and we felt that this request is adequate to take care of the staff. And we also had added additional years, so $1,000 per year that'll start increasing with each year of the contract. So just a modification of what they were initially going to pay us until now.
Thank you, Mr. Orzak. Comments or questions, Commissioners? Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Abstain.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Abstain.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 5, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into an amendment to the Transportation Services Agreement between the City of Sandusky and First Transit Incorporated of Cincinnati, Ohio, in relation to the Sandusky Transit System, and declaring this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Concludes our regular agenda. We'll turn to our city manager for his report.
Good evening, Commissioners, audience, and staff. The city would like to thank Commissioner Crable for his continued volunteer service to maintain Facer Park for nearly 15 years. In addition, we would like to recognize his purchases in 2024 of $627.81 for items such as fertilization, grub control, and spider spraying that help to maintain Facer Park. Get a motion to accept his
So moved.
donation.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion.
Here. I often watch Mr. Crable working in the park as I head home on hot summer nights. And here he's there working hard, and it's very appreciated. It's a very beautiful park. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? I guess my comment is, were you ever inclined to stop and give him a hand?
No, I'm usually late for dinner.
Okay. Understood.
I need a motion to accept that donation.
We had discussion.
I meant that as a motion. Thank you.
That motion's been seconded. Discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved. Hearing no objection. that
Please
motion-
reflect that I'm abstaining from.
Mr. Crable's abstaining from that joint.
Okay, Sandusky Park and Rec would like to thank Domino's on Perkins Ave for providing 18 pizzas for out of school at Mills Rec, and also would like to thank Leon Hughes for donating 4 new basketballs and a new football for Mills Rec. Get a motion to accept those donations.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Our thanks.
For code, the annual notification has been published in the Sandusky Register to comply with Section 531.08 of the Codified Ordinances of Sandusky. The ordinance requires the owner or occupant having the care of any lot or land within the city to cut down and remove all noxious weeds and grass of a height of 8 inches or more. Properties found to be in violation of Ordinance Section 531.08 will be served with a one-time written notice pursuant to Section 531.09, advising them of the violation. This notice will further advise that all weeds and grass of a height of 8 inches or higher must be cut down and removed. Failure to comply with this notice within 5 days from receipt of the notice will result in the city causing such weeds and grass to be cut and removed. Such cutting and removing shall be at the owner's expense. Voluntarily cooperation by all property owners is appreciated. And secondly, the annual notification has been published of the Sandusky Register to comply with 955.15 of the Codified Ordinances of Sandusky. Containers within which solid waste, garbage, refuse and or other discarded materials or recyclables have been deposited may be placed upon a curb for curbside collection no earlier than 6 p.m. from April 1st through September 30th, and no earlier than 4 p.m. from October 1st through March 31st on the evening prior to the scheduled collection of materials. Any material or containers which remain after collection shall be removed from the curb no later than 8 p.m. on the date of said collection. Properties found to be in violation of Ordinance Section 955.15, which is found to have any garbage, trash, debris, or other refuse in or on the boulevard or public right-of-way shall be declared a nuisance and may be immediately abated so long as an annual notice is published in a newspaper of general circulation for the city of Sandusky. The Finance Committee will be meeting Friday, February 14th at 8 o'clock at City Hall. A general reminder for property owners of vacant dwellings: if your dwelling is expected to remain vacant and unoccupied during the winter months, we highly recommend that you contact the city to turn off the water. This will help prevent your water lines from freezing and breaking, which could lead to costly repairs. Customer accounting can be reached at 627-5893. For Public Works, the frigid temperatures have caused various contractors to delay work on several public projects for worker safety and for quality control for materials that should not be installed under those conditions. As soon as temperatures are acceptable, each will move forward according to their sequence of remaining work. Federal authorization was received for the Sandusky Bay Pathway project. The contractor plans to begin construction at the beginning of February. Mr. Klein just notified me that they're planning on starting next Monday. The staff will continue to coordinate with private property owners abutting the project. For planning, the Public Arts and Culture Commission adopted the 2025 work plan at their regularly scheduled meeting on January 21st. The plan outlines 7 projects to be completed within the budget of the Public Arts and Acquisition Fund. New this year is a cultural programming grant fund, a budget allocation for public art at the Recreation Center to be implemented upon completion of the facility, and a project to place signage at the public art pieces around the city. Ongoing projects include the Artist-Led Grant Fund and the Art Box Program. The Sandusky Park and Rec Division would like permission to apply for a grant with the Erie County Community Foundation to improve the annual summer break program at Mills. If granted, the $20,000 in funds would be used for staffing additional programs and field trips. They have a deadline of February 1st if we get a motion to allow them to apply for that grant.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes,
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
motion's passed.
They'd also like to, Park and Recs would like permission to apply for the 2025 Community Links Internship Program with the Erie County Community Foundation. Sandusky Park and Recs hosted a marketing summer intern in 2024. If selected to host an intern in 2025, the position would have similar duties and responsibilities. They would like permission to apply for the grant. The deadline applies February 10th. If I get a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, do you call the roll on that motion, please?
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes,
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
that motion is passed.
And last, for Parks and Rec, we'd like permission to apply for a $5,000 grant for the For Love with Love charity to fund a portion of the Midtown Supper Club's season number 7 Around the World program. The popular event is in the 7th year and will be held at Sandusky Rec at Mills on Earth Day, which is Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. Tickets and tables will be available for purchase soon. They would like permission to apply for the grant.
So moved.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion?
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes,
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
that motion is passed.
And the last item, as most of you are aware, the city is aware of the change through House Bill 315 that gives the ability of police departments to charge a fee for video records for public records requests. The city isn't expecting to make a recommendation to the city commission for fees associated with those records until a thorough review of our record request and analysis are completed, along with policy recommendations from Lexipol, who you just approved to redo their subscription. So they're our policy and procedure company for all police agencies in the nation, and they're aware of the situation and are working on that. It should be noted that a defendant in a criminal proceeding will continue to be provided with these records as part of discovery. We recognize the importance of this topic, so we will have due diligence. So we're not going to be making any recommendations for quite some time and see how things play out, but just want to make that statement.
Thank you, Mr. Orzak. Questions or comments for the city manager?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Coons?
Quickly, as it relates to HB 315, and I think I heard you say this, but correct me if I'm wrong, John, that for anybody involved in a particular altercation or situation with officers, it will be part of discovery, so they won't be paying for that at all, right?
That's correct.
So regardless of what happens, anybody that's involved in any situation or altercation will not be charged for the video, right? Now, this is a long way from the days when, I've been to a situation, right, where it was in the day when you had to ask for the video and you would get a DVD, right, and you pay $5 for it, right? Now, I'll be one who advocates for citizens being able to get their hands on that, but I understand the need for a charge. What I don't understand is how the state would come up with a $75 charge per hour. So I'm just putting it on the record that I would never be for that, somebody paying $75 per hour, because first of all, how do we determine how many hours they spend? And then there's a cap of $750, as if to say, wow, we spent 10 hours. You owe us $750. What do they have to do? Collect half of it and get the other half later to find out what happened? The other issue that becomes something that we need to deal with is, will the media be charged $75 per hour or $750, right? So we need to think about those things. I would never be for that. But I do believe in a standard fee for collecting, giving somebody access to a video, but definitely not the people involved in the situation or altercation. So I just wanted to get that on the record, that there's so many questions that have to be answered before they start talking about, hey, we're giving you the right to actually charge up to $75 per hour and $750. That just seems like it would be kind of a deterrent for people to even ask. When if we didn't look at some of these videos, we wouldn't even know that wrong had been done. Right? And we've addressed that as it relates to some recent situations. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
I think Mr. Orzak adequately explained that any fee charged has to come back to this body to set the fee, very much like we do for any revenue stream. For instance, setting fees for, say, Mr. Waddington's golf play at Mills. We set that fee. That's a fee that we'd have the opportunity to set also, and something that this body would certainly have to agree on. I agree with you, Commissioner Kuntz. That's something that it would take some deliberation as to what we think is fair and what we think is adequate.
Thanks.
If we think it's adequate at all.
Right. Thank you.
Additional comments or questions for the city manager? Not, we'll move to items of old business. Should we have any items of old business? Items of new business? Any items of new business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Murray.
Need to make a motion to set an executive session property sale.
That is in the form of a
Lease,
motion.
yes. Property sale lease, I should say.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, will you call the roll on that motion, please?
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
That executive session is set. I have three housekeeping motions I need to present under new business. First, I need a motion for a public hearing for a zone map amendment at 1706 Hayes Avenue for our meeting on March the 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, will you call the roll on that motion?
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
That motion is passed. I will also need a motion for a public hearing for a zone map amendment to the design criteria for manufactured homes for our March the 10th meeting.
Second.
And a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Aye.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
And that motion passed. Next, I will need, the last motion I need is a motion to accept the boards and commission appointments for 2025. I believe each commissioner has received those appointments from our clerk. If I can have a motion to accept those for 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you call a roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
That motion is passed. Any additional items of new business, commissioners?
I don't necessarily know, sorry.
Mr. Kuntz?
Don't necessarily know if this would be considered new business, but I did want to commend Chief Oliver for wrapping up his review on the situation that we had regarding those videos. I think that just the fact that you finished it in a timely manner and you took care of that, regardless of whether anybody else can agree or disagree with what you did, as long as you're able to stand on, what you found, you took care of it, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. I wish we wouldn't have to do any of it, but thank you for the words.
All right.
Last item on our agenda is audience participation on any item that relates to city business. If you'd step to the podium and share with us your name and address, and ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. If not, we will move to executive session. And I will ask Law Director, Finance Director, and Ms. Gilson to accompany us into executive session for a presentation.
City manager?
Upstairs.
City manager, of course.
We staying here this time, or are we going upstairs?
We returned from executive session at 6:17, and I will ask for a motion to return to our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Return to our open meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.